The issues you see, why don't you list them?
I think that retention may be one of the biggest problems, that challenges that the Marine Corps faces today. And I think a lot of what we've been talking about can be traced back to retention being a problem.
What would be the root cause of that?
I think, from anecdotal stories that I've heard, why Marines get out, like Marines that I can't talk into re-enlisting, or that guys leaving active duty. Toxic leadership, I think, is a huge one. Standard of living, not being able to achieve their goals is a huge one. Pay.
For anybody that listens to this that doesn't know you, if you don't mind, just a quick, so I served with you, I don't even know, 2-3 years at LAR. I recruited you to help me with a different project and we didn't gain traction. I actually don't know you that well. I just know that you're one of those. I consider them one of those, right? If you need shit done, you probably will call Burkell, right? Whatever that is. And that's kind of the people I want to talk to first. So anyway, give me, prefer also your life story before the Marine Corps, when you got in, kind of your career, whatever, this is both for people in military and people out. Who is Burkell if this ever were to go? I mean, it's just a fun conversation. And guess what? I actually don't know that. I don't want to know myself. I've only seen you in uniform, and I know that you're a capable scout, and you fucking love to scout. That's pretty much the extent of what I know about you, and you're in school. And so anyway, just get me caught up on your life. It's a fun exercise for me.
So, my name is Chris Burkell. I'm originally grew up on a cattle ranch outside of a small town in rural Idaho. I enlisted in the Marine Corps right out of high school. From there, it was graduated in 2007, so it was kind of that middle era of the global war on terror. I had some back and forth on whether or not I was going to join the reserves or just go active duty. Kind of a long story short, the idea that I had was that I was going to start off in the reserves and then I would go active duty from there. Shortly after finishing boot camp and SOI, checked into Charlie Company 4th LAR. Opportunity to deploy to Iraq came up within the next 6 months or so. So I jumped on that, deployed to Iraq, came home, and ended up serving a religious mission for a couple of years. So I dropped to the IRR for that, did the mission release program that they have, came home, started the process of trying to go to active duty, which with the prior service enlistment contract, prior service enlistment contract program, it just didn't really work out. But I chased that for a few years. So then ended up as staying in the reserves, working as a wildland firefighter with the Forest Service, and then got the opportunity to volunteer for a deployment to Afghanistan. So I did that. Been in and out of LAR as a scout. I've been in and out of the LAR community for probably going on 17 years now, which is something that's very unique for a scout. Scouts don't have long-term homes in the LAR community. So, I mean, it's probably a fair bet at this point that I have more time as an LAR scout than probably anybody else in the 4 LAR battalions in the Marine Corps.
Nice.
I've gotten lucky, got to volunteer, did a unit deployment program out to Okinawa as well. I've done some time in Eastern Europe with the Marine Corps, and I drank the Kool-Aid pretty early on. Like I said, I very much recognize the Marine Corps as a flawed organization, that there are things that we need to fix, but it is something that I love, which is why I have gone back to school. I'm now pursuing my degree again, because the goal ultimately for me would be to try and commission and go back to active duty, and because I love this organization, I want to try and be a part of the change. I know some people think it's idealistic, but
do you, this might demonstrate the problem in and of itself. Obviously, we can't build a system for the Burkells of the world because you're nuts. Have they given you any type of probability of because you're my age, what are you, 37, 38?
I'm 37.
What's the probability that you can go to school and then commission and then go active duty? Because
I haven't been given any probability or anything on that. From the people who I've talked to, so for instance, like our current CO, he just came from active duty and he was working as, I guess, whatever the position is for officers when they're over like an ROTC,
Oh yeah,
like an
sure. I
ROTC
don't know.
unit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He seems to think that I have a pretty good shot. I haven't spoken to an OSO yet, because kind of from what I've been told, it sounds like, you know, really the only option for me is getting the degree, graduating, and then going to OCS. So until I get the degree or get close, I haven't talked to an OSO yet. But
You're fucking.
my understanding is
You're
the
fucking
way that they
nuts, dude.
changed.
You're nuts.
What?
You're insane. That's insane. Good for you. That's awesome. Listen, forget the whole campaign. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna run this fight to make sure that Burkell gets to be a fucking officer, because that's crazy that you would. That's fucking insane. But they do pay for it, right? So they're paying for schooling. So you're like, it's not like, or you.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I have, especially with all the deployments and everything, the schools, the TAD time and everything I have. Like I qualify 100% for the 9/11 GI Bill. So I'm using the GI Bill to go to school.
What are you studying?
So originally, when I first started going to school, I was studying criminal justice. When I was young, you know, I had the idea. My thought was that maybe one day I would go into federal law enforcement. But just kind of the deeper into that I got, the more I realized that it just wasn't really what I wanted to do, or like the reasons why I had like thought about going into that weren't really like the reasons I think somebody should. So now, if all you need is a degree, I love history, so I'm studying history.
All right, good,
Like,
dude. No, what emphasis? I know you've told me this. I just don't remember what emphasis.
so I haven't picked a focus yet. I have about a year left. So my idea right now is, hopefully, I just finished my last final yesterday for this semester. So in the fall, I'm going to try to transfer down to University of Utah or Utah State University and to finish up, and that's when I'll have to declare a focus.
Man, I'd love to talk to you about that. If we have time, remind me to ask you about your study of story, if any. So you did a mission, so we obviously can infer what religious background you are. Do you remain a part of that institution, or have you? We're online, so if this is the part you don't want to talk about, you can. That's just my.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. So so I was raised Latter-day Saint, Mormon. My family was always kind of like what they would refer to as less active. You know, like, oh, would go for a bit and then we wouldn't, and then would go for a bit and then we wouldn't. And I did volunteer to serve a 2-year religious mission. I would not say that I am affiliated with the church anymore.
Got it.
Like I don't go as far as some people do, where they like hard out and hold it against the church, and you know they want their name taken off the records and all that. But I just don't go. I wish them all the best.
In our next episode, I have to dig into that, or you have to give me somebody, because there's this deconstruction tour that I'm on that was principled in. I led a bunch of Bible, so I'm a recovering. I hate to say that term, like what the fucking meme, but I'm a recovering Protestant evangelical, and the signifying event was one of my Bible studies, which I've been leading since college, right? They're talking all sorts of shit about y'all, and I sat in your guys' building. I listened to the sermon about the same Jesus. I was like, no, they believe in Jesus, and these guys are adamant that you guys. I'm like, you guys have no clue. And then, right after they go do the research, and like, well, yeah, it's a different Jesus, and I'm like, what? We're all effing the pooch, right? It's like, dude, well, yeah, that's prosperity gospel, and that's blah blah blah, and it's like, dude. I think we all get it wrong. Jesus is great, religion is not.
Yeah, they so like, you know, like the LDS, yeah, definitely not something we need to go into now unless you want. But yeah, the LDS Church uses the King James Bible. You know, they always recommend like you do the seminary, so they have like seminary for the for LDS or Mormon kids. So like, one of your school periods during high school, you go to Sunday school, just like more church schools. So, like I did that. And it rotates through. So like one year Like one year we spent a whole year on the Old Testament. The next year we spent a whole year on the New Testament. Like, so yeah.
Look, it would make sense to me if Jesus said, "Write this book down, worship it." Paul's coming, and then whatever his name is. I always get Adam Smith and Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith.
It's Joseph. Yeah, I always get those two. Stupid.
Yeah.
We'll save it. I want to talk military. So why don't we just? I mean, I've baited you a little bit, but why don't if we were to? It's a hard question, and I'm just going to go straight to it. If you could change anything, what would you change and why? Or if you could outline, if you were just you got to talk to the let's pretend like you're talking to the commandant, and he says, "Hey, Burkell, I want you to fix the Marine Corps. What's going on?" Just like that, blank slate, open canvas, and I'm doing this so broadly because I don't want to pigeonhole. I've already said too much, right? So I want to I want to see where you go and see where my thesis lines up with you, and that's what we're doing.
So many things. For starting off, probably just because the current situation we've been going through the last few years at the company, much more selective with what Marines are being chosen to go to I&I staff. I think that's something.
Let me. Are you going to focus on reserve specifically, or are you when you start there? I just want to understand when you're speaking Global Marine Corps. Are we speaking in the reserve specific, or are we Global Marine Corps?
And I would say, for this point, how many points do you want on like things to change?
No, that's good. I just want to make sure I understand where you're taking it, because as soon as you say I&I, you're only speaking to reserves, correct?
Yeah. So the I&I staff, I don't know, like for if you end up sharing this, the I&I staff, the inspector instructor staff, they are the active duty component that is then sent. They do, typically they do a 3-year tour from active duty on the I&I staff, and they're the ones who really kind of like help make the rubber meet the road for the reserve units, which makes sense because when you look at it from like a S3 shot perspective, I as a staff NCO, I absolutely love to plan and put together training and like I'll build the ConOps and everything, but there comes a point in time where as a reservist, I have a day job. I work a full-time job. I'm going to school. For a while there, I was doing a full-time job, a part-time job, and going to school. And so I don't have the time to be hopping onto Rhythmus and following up on these. And so one of the things that I think I took for granted throughout my time in the reserves is that I think we got very lucky at Charlie Company where we just had kind of like rock star I&I staffs one after another. And then suddenly with what happened with the relocation of the unit and everything, I guess maybe it was just bad luck, but the certain members of the I&I staff that we got were just completely incompetent and incapable of doing their job. And the way that I've thought about it in the past of why this is so important, of why when it comes down to it, maybe we need to look into making I&I staff a special duty assignment, or there needs to be more strenuous screening on who gets sent to I&I staff, is because ultimately, if you look at a reserve company, that company can have a fucking terrible command. But if the I&I staff is locked on, the I&I staff can still make training happen. But if it's an inverse situation where the company staff are great and the I&I staff are just shitheads, it doesn't matter because nothing is gonna get done. If I send you a ConOps for the scouts, if we go do the range recon for the scouts to do a small arms qualification package in September, I have you the entire ConOps built and I email it to you by the end of October. If you are then texting me at the end of February, 3 weeks before we're supposed to go hot, and saying, "Oh, sorry, I got onto Rhythmus to reserve those ranges and they're not available," dude, we had 6 months, and you wait until 3 weeks before we're supposed to going hot to start locking. What the fuck have you been doing? So that's one thing I would say. More, I think, big picture, if we're like moving up from reserves, another thing that I think that we need to focus as much on MOS training and MOS proficiency for Marines as we do for PME. a couple of years ago when they started making the requirements for enlisted men to go to PME in order to be eligible for promotion. Like before you could be eligible for promotion to staff sergeant, you had to get your sergeant residency PME done. A lot of guys bitched and moaned about that. I think it's a great idea. I think corporals should be required to do corporal's course before they're eligible for promotion to sergeant. I think sergeants should have to do sergeant's course before they're eligible for promotion to staff sergeant. But I think that we need to make it that way for MOS schools as well. So an example of that being for infantry, okay, if you want to be eligible for promotion to sergeant, then you need to complete not only corporal's course, but because you're an 03, then you need to complete your advanced infantry course. So if you're an 0311, advanced infantryman course. If you're a mortarman, advanced mortarman's course, whatever it may be, because you need that MOS proficiency. For sergeants, if you want to be eligible for promotion to staff sergeant, then you have to complete not only sergeant's course, but you have to complete infantry unit small leaders course, because that's the course that's going to give you the MOS proficiency to really excel, to really be that pinnacle of like of light infantry leaders and light infantry NCOs that we talk about the Marine Corps being. We've done that a little bit with staff NCOs. So we made the change a couple of years ago for staff NCOs in the 03 community that before you could be eligible to gunnery sergeant, before you could even get the 0369 MOS, you have to go to and graduate infantry unit leaders course. And I think that's great. We just need to do that same concept down across the ranks.
What are they? I'm going to demonstrate a lot of my ignorance here, which there's many. I'm not, I know business. I don't actually know the ins and outs of the Marine Corps. The courses, there's PME and then there's MOS training. I understand that you need to be PME complete, which is, you're not saying no, but what are they doing with those? What are they doing? I'm going to call them, is this correct to call them the MOS trainings? Or what is that? What is that? That's optional, or how are they using that? Is that certain when it's not mandatory?
So they're there and you're encouraged to go, but it's very much kind of a if you don't want to go, if you don't go to advanced infantry course or infantry small unit leaders course, you could theoretically in the infantry community graduate SOI, School of Infantry, and then you could, say you stay in the Marine Corps, you could theoretically never go to another, quote unquote, infantry MOS course again until you're a staff sergeant looking to get your infantry unit leader billet, your 0369, and then be eligible for gunny.
And so I don't want to say, but the simple refinement would be to make those mandatory as well. And do you have any idea why they're not?
I have speculation as to why they're not. I think it's a couple of things. One, I think it's money. It always comes down to money. If you were to make these mandatory, the same way that we did there would be a growing process the same way there was when we made the PME mandatory, right? So the PME courses didn't used to be mandatory. As soon as we made them mandatory, now all of a sudden there's a bottleneck of guys who have to go. And so in order to facilitate everybody going, now suddenly you need to hold more courses every year. Suddenly you need more instructors. And so that takes guys away, that takes money away from other things and other operations. And so one, I think, is money. Because yes, if you were to suddenly say every corporal has to go to advanced infantry course to be eligible for sergeant, you're going to have a bottleneck of corporals waiting to go. And so you're going to need to hold those classes, right? The other thing, and I think this is probably the bigger reason, is that it would take people away from their units, which is something right now I feel like we as an institution have a very hard time with doing. So when I got back from the unit deployment program to Okinawa, I got invited down to Pendleton to help run kind of a reserve component, a reserve version of the scout course that they were workshopping. at the time of the basic scout course that they've now finalized. And so while I was down there, I had the opportunity, the current commanding general of 4th Marine Division came out and spoke to us and spoke to the cadre. I'm going to leave his name out if that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if anybody wants to like look at the
No,
date,
you're good. You're good.
you're
You're
like,
good.
all right, well, who's currently serving as the commanding general? But he came down and he asked, and I'd been working with the cadre for about 3 weeks at this point and talking to them, and I was kind of skeptical about this whole scout course thing from the beginning. Like, I think maybe I just didn't want to get my hopes up, but after seeing what they were wanting to do and how professional it all was, like, I'm all on board. I'm all in. And one of the things they had been repeatedly talking to me about, though, that I'd been talking about with the cadre, was that they were adamant that to do this course right, they needed 6 weeks. The course needed to be 6 weeks for the basic scout course and 6 weeks for the advanced scout course. And so when the general came down, he was like, hey, I talked to the Marines, like, you guys are doing great. They love what you're doing. This is clearly something we need to pursue. What do you guys need? And the staff NCOIC, he didn't hesitate. He was like, sir, we need time. We are being pressured to try and condense this down to 4 weeks, possibly even 3, and that's just not gonna, you are not gonna get the product that you need, that you say you want, in 3 to 4 weeks. We need 6 weeks. And I remember his response. The general's response was like, time. Yeah, everybody needs time. It's like sand slipping through my fingers. And he went on to talk about something that has happened since and that really bothers me. He went on to talk about how, like, we just don't have time for the Marines to spend this much time in courses and in schools away from their units. And because of that, they were going to deactivate or disband the infantry Marine course that we were doing at the time. So I don't know if you were familiar with that at all, or kind of what they were doing. So we had the Legacy School of Infantry program that we've been using to train infantry Marines since the late 80s. And if you look it up, there's a video. There's like a 2-minute recruiting video that still gives me goosebumps about it, because the idea behind the infantry Marine course was that if we're going to train Marines for combat in the 21st century, we can't keep training them the way that we were 30 years ago. The world has changed. And so SOI, the Legacy SOI program, being 9-10 weeks, was being replaced with the Infantry Marine course, which was going to be anywhere from 14 to 18 weeks long. And the purpose behind this, or the intent behind this, was that going from 9 weeks to possibly as long as 18 weeks, we're going to be able to get these Marines much better training. There's going to be more instructors. So instead of, like when I went through SOI, you had an SOI platoon of 40 guys with two instructors that were in charge of your platoon. This idea was that you were going to have squads, and there was going to be an instructor cadre, like a sergeant combat instructor, for every squad. He was going to be the squad leader of every squad. So you have much more one-on-one interaction with a combat instructor. And instead of just being trained as an 0311 or a machine gunner or a mortarman, there's just going to be 03. You're going to learn all the basic 03 MOSs and be proficient in them. And I have loved that concept. Some of the Marines that we've gotten who went through that program, they come out more capable, they come out more mature, they come out more curious about learning more. I absolutely loved the product that we were getting. And that was something that I cornered him about later. And I was talking to him because he said that they were looking at disbanding that program because, as he put it, the battalion commanders were harassing, or not harassing, but they were complaining to the division commanders that yeah, this is great and they're getting a great product, they're getting great Marines, but we just need bodies. Like in order to maintain the deployment cycles and things like that, we just need bodies. they were saying that like we don't have the time or the manpower to spend training these Marines this way. I just need bodies. And I think that carries over as to why maybe part of a reason that we would not be willing to do this with the schools and making the MOS schools mandatory, because we don't want those Marines to be away from their unit for so long. And in my opinion, I think that's a flawed perspective. I think it should be viewed as an investment, right? You're sending this Marine to go to this course. Yes, he's going to spend 8 weeks at advanced infantry course. And during those 8 weeks, yeah, he might miss ITX. But who gives a shit? Like, you're going to do ITX again next year or the year after that. This is an opportunity for you to get a schoolhouse-trained Marine team leader who is more proficient, who's more confident, and who's gotten better training. This is very much my personal opinion, and it's based on my personal experience, in that the best training and the most learning I personally have ever received outside of combat deployments has come from professionally run schoolhouses with intelligent cadre who are experienced and know what they're doing and know how to teach. Whereas in my opinion, unit level training that I've gotten is just kind of like maintaining the status quo. So when he told us that the idea that they're just going to get rid of the infantry Marine course because the Marines will then get that training at the battalions when they get to their units, I think that's laughable.
Do you think that as I'm listening to this, is really good perspective, so thank you for sharing, but one of the things I'm like, training should be continuous. We know that it is, but we also know that it isn't, right? You're actually recommending, what I heard you say more or less is to get good training, we need to get them out of their units and send them somewhere else. Why isn't the good training coming to the units perpetually, right? Why isn't that in the case? Why are these two things separate? I understand why they are, but like, would it not make sense if we got to go to the whiteboard, is like, you're not done training when you go to your unit. You just get started training. And this is, would it not make sense? And I understand as it sits today, that's not going to happen unless you do drastic reform. But would it not make sense that that is just part of the training regiment? I know what the millions of reasons why that's not going to happen. But I guess what I'm taking issue with is like, to get Marines really ready, really well trained, we need to get them out of their unit and put them in a different schoolhouse, versus we need to get all the units to be like, the product is really well trained Marines that are lethal as fuck, right? Is it too grandiose to have that as a vision statement? I understand probably.
I don't think so. I guess
what I was going to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the difference that I would say is one, I think you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be that way. Training at the unit level shouldn't be just maintenance or maintaining the status quo. It shouldn't be, but I feel like a lot of times it is, and that's something I think you kind of alluded to. Like with the current situation, God, I feel like we just in general go to the field so much less than we used to, and especially with some of the new, the new command, the new INI command coming in, that's definitely something that they are pushing hard to change for. Some of the shortcomings that I have seen with that, and again, this is talking a little bit to the experience that I've had the last several years. I think, again, part of this falls on the INI staff, is even when we did go to the field, we've been out in the field all day, and then, okay, now we're just finding out that the TAA isn't locked on. And so we've kind of run into a situation where it's like, okay, thank God we finally got to the field, and then you find out that the resources you needed are not locked on. And it shouldn't be that way. Yes, we should be going to the field at the unit level, and it needs to be well planned out. I don't like locking on a training area and then just showing up at the training area and be like, all right, what are we going to do? Training needs to be thoughtfully planned out, and it should be. I absolutely agree. I guess I think the difference is that, and I don't want to imply that the only way good training can happen is at a schoolhouse. I think the difference, or I guess what maybe the advantage of the schoolhouse is that the schoolhouse already has dedicated resources and the training areas. They already have that locked on with that intent, which again, that deliberate intent is something that can be done at the unit level. I guess it brings me to the point of like, okay, then why does it seem like so many units are failing to do that deliberate training, that deliberate, well-planned, well thought out, well executed training?
Yep. And because we have time, we're 40 minutes in, and I want your whole list, and then I'll dive in. So we're both long-winded. So what else? I want to just rattle them off, issues that you see, and then I'll dive in on certain ones, because I want to make sure I memorialize it. So instead of deep diving each issue, like, why don't you just I don't know if you have a list, but just line out all the problems that you see, and I'll pick on a few, or we'll come back. But Global Marine Corps, it can be reserves specific, but like the issues you see, why don't you list them, and I'll ask more questions. So try to say it in a sentence.
Retention. Global retention is huge. I think that retention may be one of the biggest challenges that the Marine Corps faces today.
If you could,
and I think a lot of what we've been talking about can be traced back to retention being a problem.
If you solved it, how would you solve? If you said, why do we have a retention problem? What would be the root cause of that? I know that it's multifaceted, and you can give me 5, but what is contributing most to our retention problem as you see it?
I think from anecdotal stories that I've heard, why Marines get out, like Marines that I can't talk into re-enlisting, or that guys leaving active duty. Toxic leadership, I think, is a huge one. Standard of living, not being able to achieve their goals is a huge one. Pay.
Is pay the same as standard of living, or how are those separate?
The way that I would separate them too, and I would put pay a little bit farther down. Standard of living, I would specify as like the condition of the barracks.
Got it.
Condition of on-base housing, things like that. Whereas pay, I'd put farther down the list, because I don't think that pay is the most significant factor, because it's not like, especially, if you're a private or a PFC, you're not making shit, but you pick up a couple of ranks, and then on top of BAH and everything, like you can make a living, but
yeah.
You then also have that thought of like, is the grass greener on the other side? So I think it is a factor, but I don't think it's one of the main driving factors, I would say. I think it's definitely a factor that could be overcome.
If we talk about toxic leadership, standard of living, and then not being able to achieve their goals, do we get most of the retention issue, or is there any other big ones that stand out to you that are affecting retention negatively? I'm camping on this one, because that's why they're listening to me. That's why Sergeant Major is able to get me a meeting, is because they know they know that this is a known problem, and it is a data that they can see. Is there anything toxic living, not being able to achieve their goals, and is there any big ones that we're missing in the retention problem from your eyes?
In my opinion, those are the 3 biggest ones.
Okay, then help me understand this, not being able to achieve their goals. I think I know what you mean, but provide color. What are you saying?
So, again, this is my perspective and my experience as a reservist. Throughout my time in the reserves, when the unit was stationed in Utah, for instance, at Camp Williams, you were there. We bled guys to the 19th Special Forces Group because we shared the base with them. Because guys wanted to go and be able to do schools. They wanted to be able to they want to do cool guy shit, right? And I remember having a conversation with one of my Marines who was getting out, one of my scouts, not going to the National Guard or anything, but his reasoning was he's in law enforcement, and as a law enforcement officer, he's been able to test for SWAT, he's been able to do all of these other things, none of which he's been able to try and do in the Marine Corps. And so it's gotten to a point where now he's questioning, like, why am I spending my time here instead of in law enforcement? And I want to clarify, I'm not, like, this dude was not in LAPD SWAT or anything. This was Lehigh, Utah Police Department. Like, so when you have guys, like, I'll use myself as an example, right? I have a school seat to go to infantry unit leaders course in 13 days. I have been fighting to go to this course for over 6 years. Being able to get guys into training is something that we just don't seem to be able to get it done anymore. I have 3 scouts who have been trying to go to combat marksmanship coaches course for 3 or 4 years, and we just can't seem to get them a school seat.
So sorry, and I don't mean that because we only have 15 minutes. I mean this is because I'm mentally watching the trend line because I was wondering if you would go here, but like in summary, like they got in to do badass shit and they don't get to do badass shit, and then you have to try really hard, and then you may still not get to do and that is kind of my thesis is if you just make it a little bit more badass, people will stick around. Forget the pay. It's not for the pay. It's like, what am I doing? I come to drill and I'm doing admin moves. I'm doing fucking sexual harassment courses. So if I said it that way, if I said that 70, 80, 90% of the time we're doing bullshit, and it wouldn't matter if the 10% was, or 20% of the time was badass. The truth is, what we deem badass right now is riding our LAVs into the field and then getting in in a formation, right? Maybe we get to do a dry, live shoot, go bang, right? That is the extent of what we look forward to. Is am I circling into what you're talking about more or less? Is that
yes?
Got it. That
yeah, absolutely. And even with the other 2 things that I think are key factors, and I think that's why I say like pay. I don't think pay is a really significant factor. And even with the other 2, Marines will eat a lot of shit to be able to do some cool things every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, yeah, guys, I think we all joined the Marine Corps because to one extent or another, whatever MOS you are, whatever you joined specifically to do, we all joined the Marine Corps because we wanted to challenge ourselves. We wanted to be able to face new things, and we wanted to do some cool shit. And so when you have guys, active duty or reserve, who are just wasting their time, or even when they do go to the field, the training is not worthwhile. It's not good, valuable training. Then yeah, they start to question, what the fuck am I doing here?
So notwithstanding, we have some leadership problems. I actually would say this, and I think it's okay I think it's just a culture problem. I think we have a culture of, we're in a peacetime Marine Corps. We're so worried about losing a rifle that we're not worried about going and having a bad training evolution, right? If you lose your career because you lost a fucking rifle, guess what? The rifles stay in the armory. It's literally that for me. But I just want, if we were able to enhance training, enhance training, right? When you leave the Marine Corps, you understand that you're no longer going to have those experiences, right? Where I'm going to call it that. Like, it's like you feel like you did something or learned something or got pushed beyond the bounds, or like, you're a badass, right? You're ready to go kill people because of the training was, if you go to a higher level training regularly, even sparingly, right? Every once, two years, but a good training evolution is mandatory. That is more important than being PME complete. Do you think you solve most of the retention issues? Does everything kind of fall down from there, or is that insufficient?
I think you make a ton of headway.
Okay.
I think you make a lot of headway.
Would you say that? Sorry, go ahead.
And I don't know if you're familiar. We've been trying this new training schedule out. So we haven't, with Charlie Company, we have not been drilling every single month. We've been doing like every other month-ish. We take a dark month, bank those to do a longer training. And I will say we've got some new command in, new I&I commander, new CO, and I feel in the last 3 months, it does feel like a little bit of like winds of change. There definitely still been some fucking hiccups. But like at least we're trying to make the effort to get out into the field now. And now I would say that the caveat is like, you got to be able to get that shit planned out really well. You got to be able to get shit locked on. Because, it's great if you're doing an 8 or a 10 driller, but, if that 8 or 10 driller ends up just being not good training, then it's just 8 or 10. It's like, all right, well, now I'm just doing an 8 or a 10 driller and I feel like I'm not doing anything. So,
Understood.
I definitely think there's potential there.
Got it. No, that's music to my ears. I've been saying that all along. They need to do less drills, more time. You can't come in 3 days and get to the field, get back, check you can't. You cannot do. I mean, you can. Yeah. So more time is a thread. What else? Like other topics?
How much time do we have?
I'm supposed to have a call in 10 minutes, but yeah.
I mean, I think those are my big things for right now.
Well, okay, all right, that's good. What? Okay, we can go longer, so we can push another 45. There is nothing else to cover though. If we've got it all, there's nothing like.
I mean, I feel like I think for the intent, or like kind of what I'm thinking we're talking about, I think that's kind of like my biggest gripes.
Talk to me. I want to get into this. So my thesis is you've heard the 80-20 rule. I do it like a 90-10 of the 80-20. So when you take that 80% problem, which is like, we can speak to it, all of these retention issues, all of it surrounds a cultural issue, which is a derivative of, to me, it'd be hard for me to say, is it a culture issue? Like, culture is leadership, right? So you said toxic leadership. Where do you see that, and how do you see that? I believe that those are very much what I would say is toxic leadership leads to poor culture, leads to bad retention, right? That's how I would arc that. But where do you see it? I've heard enough anecdotes I know what it is, I think. I don't want to say I know. I believe I have my crosshairs on that, but where does that come from? Because you know that we know that there's some amazing leaders in the Marine Corps, and then also there's some, I call them me Marines, right? They're not worried about much other than their fit rep, getting promoted, and like checking the box. So yep. How do you see that issue?
So I guess for me, my definition of toxic leadership, when I think about toxic leaders, I have a specific individual who comes to mind. A major on my deployment. Huh?
I'm so curious. Don't say it, but
a major on my deployment to Afghanistan. Just one of the most condescending and arrogant people I've ever met. Like the fact that a major would be like calling out a sergeant in formation at a mandatory fun day and like threatening to fight him over a comment that he said after a couple of beers at a mandatory fun day. Let's all just calm down. But beyond just like, when I think of like toxic leadership like that, I think not just toxic leadership, but when we don't hold people accountable. Think of how to like word that. Specifically, the example I'm thinking, like, again, tracing back to this last 6-year period we've had with Charlie Company. If a gunnery sergeant in the 3 shop is not, like I said, you know, like the example I gave, that was a real world experience. You've had 6-7 months to lock on this training. I have done a significant portion of the lifting for you, and now the training just fell through, and everybody in the command, up through the company I&I, through the battalion I&I, just seems to be like, well, you know, it is what it is. What do you do? And it's like, no, it's not what do you do. This is inhibiting training from happening, right? And this is not a one-off situation. This has been a chronic issue. This same individual, because of his inability to perform, it's an integrated role. So when we deployed to Okinawa on the unit deployment program, this individual ended up being like soft relieved from the company ops chief position because he was just inept. And so it's kind of a situation of like, but once we got back, because he's I&I staff, he's right back into that role. And so it's like, why is he not being held accountable? This is a leader of Marines in a very important position who is underperforming. Like, this some type of action needs to be taken. I don't know if that was helpful at all.
And I think, well, I'd say you got dud patrol, anyway, I mean, I think it's multifaceted. I don't think we can do it in a hurry, but I think if I said it this way is, so I'll say, I'm gonna boastfully talk about myself like an asshole. I know if I called, there's all but 1 or 2, and I'm going to say they were dirtbags that I served with on the enlisted side. My senior enlisted and my platoon sergeants and my Marines. I know if I called every one of them that I served with and I said, hey, dude, we're going to the gates of hell. I need your help. I don't think many questions would be asked. It would be like, there'd probably be 100 to 200 Marines, and they're like ready. It's like, wow, I have no fucking idea what we're doing, but like, yeah. Homeboy called, right? And I'm like, that doesn't show up on a fit rep. There is nothing. No, I know that. It's my proudest. It is what I'm like, dude, I did my job. And I don't mean to say it that way. And if you're like, I don't think you have that kind of respect, you can certainly call me out. But that doesn't promote me. That doesn't elevate me. That is not a badge. There's no ribbon for that. There's no scorecard for that. There's no visibility of that. There's nothing, and it's meaningless. But it means everything to me, right? I know I did my job for that very reason, and what I find is because that isn't promoted, right? I don't want to say it this way, but I know my water walkers that I've been with. I know there's some guys in those water walkers. Those types of leaders are in and regretful, right? They're like, I wish it wasn't this way, but I'm gonna stick it out. Most of them say, fuck this, right? This is not the place I'm leaving. I'm gonna go have that effect elsewhere. And so for me, I believe, and I'm hesitant. I don't like to say this because I need to go talk to these people. The wrong stay in and get promoted and stick around, and the right ones are gone. And like I don't mean to say it that way, but like that is the trend that I have seen. Is like the people that I would have been the one to say, I'll follow. Where are we going? Right? They're gone. They're out. They don't want to deal with the bullshit. Not but for a select few. Yourself, and I can name a few. I'm not trying to say that everybody at the top is this way. But when I look and I trend it, the guys that are still in are the guys that we weren't sure how they made it to TBS and beyond. And they're, you know what I'm saying? And so go ahead.
I think you're absolutely right. So I think, not to blow smoke up your ass, and whoever may be listening to this in the future, again, but no, I honestly, I very much agree with you. And I think you're a perfect example of this. I remember talking about this with Captain Liskay on my Afghan deployment. I remember talking about this, that I feel like we do, or Captain Grimes. Do you remember Captain Grimes?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I think that we do a pretty decent, as a Marine Corps, I think we do a pretty decent job of kicking out the shitbags. The absolute garbage, we do a pretty decent job at getting rid of. We do a horrible job of retaining the water walkers. And again, not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but I think you're a pretty good example of this, sir. You, Captain Grimes, because you gentlemen are competent, you're good at your jobs, you care about your Marines, and you're just not a piece of shit. And the thing about it is that the bar is set so low that, when we run into those situations where it's like, man, I'm done with this bullshit, you gentlemen, and again, no fault or anything, but the water walkers we have a very hard time retaining because they can look at the situation and be like, I don't need to put up with this. I can go run a 6 or 7 figure company in the civilian world. I don't need to stay here and deal with this. And so that leaves us with a lot of people who are just like in the middle area. And I think one of the things to what you were saying, sir, about how that doesn't show up on a fit rep, I absolutely agree. And one of the things that they were toying around the idea with a couple of years ago that
360, I think that right? You're talking about the 360 fit rep?
Yeah, the 360 fit rep. Yeah.
What happened to that? Because that's one of the things I would come back with.
I've never heard anything. It seems like it just kind of slowly died away, and it's something we don't want to talk about anymore.
We're bringing that shit back. That's sorry, carry on. What were we going to say?
I absolutely agree with you because those type of things don't reflect on your fit rep, and they should. That's something that, in my opinion, that matters. And I understand, when we were talking about the 360-degree fit rep, I understand a lot of officers were up in arms about it and being like, oh, some bitter Lance Corporal's going to tank my career. And it's like, I mean, the Marine Corps is not perfect, but I'm pretty sure we could come up with some type of system where, one bad review
it's funny because, and I don't want to say this, but this would be something I know about. Like I do a lot with my scorecards at my company, and you can set conditions so that is not right. You can set conditions to do. It can be done. You just have to do. You know what I mean? It's not simple. You have to. It would go before a board or whatever, right? The question is very simple. Is this guy? Yeah, and it absolutely can be done. It's just difficult to do, and it's not anyway.
And I feel like the rebuttal on it is like, oh, well, we don't really need the 360. We don't really need the 360 fit rep because we do the command review climate surveys, and that's so fucking broad. It's such a broad survey that this really affects this really doesn't affect much change.
Just to validate, some of my thesis. Would you? So I really love the way you frame that. We do a really good job of getting that. I think we do a really good job attracting top talent. Everybody comes in.
Yeah, everybody comes in. We just can't keep them.
Yeah, they walk right out. So we agree on that. Are you? And I really like that we're left with what's in the middle. Would you? So if I said it this way, and I'm gonna use the term senior enlisted. I'm talking sergeants and above. Sorry, staff sergeants and above, and like senior captains, not young captains. When you look around your sphere and all that you've seen, like I'm going to use you. I believe you're the exception. What I don't have and what I'm trying to figure out, this is really what I'm stuck with right now, is how to not insultingly figure out, like, are you one of 10 where there's 9, what I'm going to call them mediocre, middle of the road, to one kind of, I'm going to say the water walker that stayed even though he shouldn't, right? Like literally, I'm going to say you shouldn't be going to school. Go find yourself a job, make some money, build a family, and all that. You just so love the Marine Corps, and I can go through 5 that are still in, but I can go through 20 I know got out, right? And I just don't know. I'm wondering how that distribution of, when I look, like if we took the whole class of, senior staff sergeants, senior captains and up, would you say of that class, water walkers, and anybody listening to this is not like, no, we're not calling anybody mediocre. I think the special, they are one of 10 in, like, ideally this class, let's say there's 100 of these people at that level, the 100 senior, I'm going to call them senior leaders. You got me? You understand what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
100 senior leaders. Would you say the unlikely water walker that stayed in shouldn't versus we're not going to say average to below average to above average, mediocre. You understand? We're putting them all in a group so nobody can get their feelings hurt. What's that distribution? Do we have 1 to 100? Do we have 1 to 10? Do we have 50%? What do you, if you were being honest, when you look around at senior leadership, in your experience, my number would be 1 to 20. That would be my number if I was to guess. I think that's probably the statistical, my anecdotal, whatever. If you said 1 to 100, I wouldn't disagree. If you said 1 to 10, if you said 1 to 2, I wouldn't. I have no fucking clue. I'm just curious. And that's going to be one of these questions, is like, how many water walkers per average? I would be very selective about water walker, and I would be very liberal with who's average. We're just putting it in average right now. We could go in farther and figure out how many bad leaders we have per 100, but like, you know what I'm talking about, I think. The top of the tree, how many are left in 100?
Man, that's a tough question. I feel like to be honest, I feel like my initial response, to be fair, is I want to say like 1 in 20 might be an accurate assessment, but I also feel like I might be being generous, like to the point of like I hope. I guess what I'm saying is like I hope that we are being able to retain at least 1 water walker out of for every 20.
But now your gut, I'm listening. Your gut says that is not actually the case. Is that right? Like if you said I'm gonna say, yeah, that's a good number, but I suspect it might be worse or better. When
I think of like the water walkers that like the guys who I have looked up to, who I've been like, man, that guy is God tier. Like
yeah.
The Grand Prix, the Grimes, the Gunnar Smiths, they're all gone. Like,
yeah, so it's a little generous.
Personally, like all of those guys for me, they've all gotten out.
Would you, if you were being, because I weighted you, I biased you, I fucked it up. What would you, if you like looking around the room, and I'm gonna say the godlike, I'm gonna assume I'm not in that class. Put me as the minimum. Let's put someone that leads like I do, and I'm nowhere near those guys. Like those guys are as loyal to the core as you were. I was never quite that gung ho. But so the leaders that I would say leaders that you're like, they say I need help, and you're like, I'll be there. I believe in it and I trust it. That type. and I think the best way to think about it is just take all of in your last 5-10 years, just guess how many leaders you've been around. You got to look at all the other platoon sergeants, all the other, like, think about all the leaders you've been around, take a guess how many numbers those are, and then how many of those standout figures are there. I think that'd just be a good average. If you just live through your experience of, I'm going to the gates of hell with these people. I want them on my squad, or I want to report into them. Those types that.
How many of those in the last 5 years I've served with? How many are still around?
Well, and versus how many you've been surrounded with, right? So I don't know on any given year how many. I'm just curious what that anecdote sounds like to you.
One.
One, and would you say that's one of how many have you in your sphere? Would you say you've been
in my sphere? I'd say 10.
No, sorry. One. So in the last 5 years, I understand that there's one that you're ready to go to the gates of hell with, and you want on your team. I think you're still holding them too godlike, but that's okay. That's fair.
So one in the last 5 years in my sphere, out of, I would say, 10, who it's like I would go to the gates of hell with, one is still in.
Got it. Okay, but now in the last, and understood. So we have the caliber. I want to know, you've been around one of them in the last 5 years. How many leaders in that bracket have you been around? Have you been around 50, 100?
Oh, how many leaders in that bracket have I been around?
He's one of how many that didn't make the mark. Is it? Guess. I don't need it to be super. I don't know. I'm thinking. I want to be very clear. Go ahead.
Of how many didn't measure up to that?
Yeah, and I'm looking at all the platoon sergeant, your peers too, right? Senior
Gotcha.
Enlisted. I'm just trying to get I'm wondering. There's been one that carries that weight. Is he of 20, of 50, of 60? If you were to guess,
maybe. I mean, if we're thinking like all platoon sergeants that I've worked for or with, platoon commanders, probably 20 to 30, I'd say.
Okay. So our benchmark seems to be, like, anecdotally, imperfectly, seems close.
Yeah.
It's probably in or around 1 in 20. All right, that's super helpful for me. This has been really, really helpful. So just to give you a little bit of vision, because I know the last time I tried this with you, you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? I think what I'm hopeful that I can pitch. So the first thing I need to do is figure out the thesis, right? Is like we absolutely, where's the retention problem? I think there's two here. We've got just a training SOP problem, and we have a culture, which contributes to the culture issue. So I'm going to say it's culture issue. I think that's what it is. The two things that are feeding into that is bullshit training and the 1 in 20, that leadership. Those are those two. And what I'm positioning to do, and I don't know this yet, this is what I'm kind of working on, is one of three things. Either like, let me come in uniform as a culture advisor through the MOU and go fucking turn around. I'll go turn around units. I know how to do it. I did it in fences. I don't know if the most interesting Civil War would be like Kevin's installers versus Kevin's Marine. It would be funny. It's like, let's go have a fucking battle. I've done it in fencing. I've made fencing fun. And my guys that put up fucking fence, they're goddamn passionate about it. It fucking means something to them, which is fun for me because that's a lot harder than getting excited for you signed up to die. You know what I'm saying? That's where I get upset, is like, we all signed up to eat shit. Like, the worst, and we end up like feeling bad about it. That's crazy to me. But anyway, so one of three options. The first one is the easiest. Is like, let me just go unit to unit and let me go solve your cultural issues. You fucking haven't. I'll show you. Okay, that's kind of. I don't think I can make everlasting change. What I really want to do is say, hey, I'll fucking recruit them. I'll build them. It's fucking the Marine Corps Cowboys. It's my unit. It's my company. We're fucking universalists. I will go find all the water walkers you already got rid of. I'm going to put them in one fucking room, and we will just do badass shit all the time. All the fucking time. And I don't care what the mission is. Give me the mission. Just give me, whatever it is. Give me an impossible one. Let us deploy and fucking put bombs on target. Just give me a 6-month to 12-month workup, a real workup, where I and my Marines have a mission and we do our own fucking workup, not the one that you said. You just tell me what the objective is and let me prove it one time. Give me fucking my first year, and then give me the hardest mission that you can't figure out how to fucking do. Watch me. Just watch me, because I will have fucking All the captains, all the people that got out will fucking come. And there's nothing that I'm going to say other than, hey, we're going to do everything that you wish you could have done. Everything that you wish you could have done without the bullshit, right? We don't, like, if you, and guess what? If you fucking suck, there's a door, and I will not keep you in it. I don't care what the contract says. Is just get the fuck out of my unit because you're tainting my well, right? And so I'll just do it. I'll just be like, hey, and then you watch this, Marine Corps. You watch this, study it, and then go rinse and repeat. We'll be the beacon of what the fucking Marine Corps should be. What I think the Raiders might be. I don't even really know because we don't know what they do, right? We'll do it publicly. We will be the reserve unit that everybody wants to get the fuck out of active duty to come be a part of because we just do badass shit. No more bullshit. And guess what? The biggest thing that I don't know how to pitch, and I don't want to say this because I can't. If I say it online, they'll be like, no. We're going to be okay if people die in training. We're going to be okay with that. We're going to be okay with like losing rifles. What we're not going to be okay with is anybody coming and feeling like they haven't been challenged in an incredible way and they're not getting good training. That is a bigger problem for me than losing a goddamn magazine in a fucking field op. Because I don't know, I haven't been to combat, but I don't suspect that we're worried about losing magazines in combat. I'm more worried about people dying. And if I do all my training around making sure that nobody dies and we're not in a real fucking environment, that's just dumb. It's dumb. I don't intend to. I'm not going to try to get people killed. But I will say, hey, when you come over here, we're not just going to go on fucking controlled hikes where you don't sweat. You know, like it's going to hurt. We're going to make it hurt. We're going to make it hurt so that whenever the fuck we have to go do, it hurts less. And like everybody should be fucking afraid when the fucking cowboys are coming. Period. End of sentence. So that's what I want to do. If you can't tell, I don't know. I'm trying to set conditions for them to say, yeah, we'll let you try that, right? And so the third thing that I'm thinking of is, hey, we'll be a contractor. I'll be adjacent. We'll run red team for all your, we don't want to go to the schoolhouse and run red team. We'll go to your units and we'll put on the training, right? As like, we'll go put on, like, we'll have the equipment, all that shit. We'll give you all, like, we'll start with the infantry, the best training that you can, and nobody's beat us and nobody will beat us. And good luck, right? We'll give you the script. If you can beat us at our own game, that's how we do it. So that's kind of like my three, what I'm preparing to pitch. So where do you enter in is one, thank you for having this conversation. I want to have like 2 to 3 more. I got to round it out. Like you brought me perspective. I don't know, dude, right? If you called me and said, hey, I need help with business, I'm like, all right, let me turn the shit inside out. I can do that.
Yeah.
As it pertains to Marine Corps, I'm like, hey, let me talk to the people that know. I'm going to do some soft launches. And then the biggest thing that I would say, if you're excited, I hope you are. Are you excited? Does this excite you? Even though it's like,
no, this sounds a lot like a couple of, like when you were talking there, it kept making me think like this sounds an awful lot like what a couple of lieutenants were saying when they were trying to parachute behind lines in Africa and attack Rommel's supply lines. I'm all about it.
Cool. Well, and I kind of say like the SEALs weren't a thing until they were, right? Like that, and I don't want to say it that way, but like it's like I think we're fixing a real anyway. So the only reason this is in motion is because I had a sergeant major that has a major that will listen to me, right? And what I'm trying to do is present in a way that I don't sound like a fucking know-it-all asshole, and I'm solving a problem, right? I believe if they let me have that unit, I will solve the retention issues. All the people that are out and are like, damn it, I wish. I believe that I will have a fucking waiting list to come into that unit. I know that I will, actually. I mean, I shouldn't say that. You're going to help me prove that, right? So like what I will need help with is be thinking of the other people that I should talk to, and then I'm going to put together a survey, and I'm slowly crafting it to present that says, here's the data, right? I think there's like 20, 30,000 getting out a year. I just need 5,000 people to say, yes, this is a problem as they're articulating it. And yes, this would solve the problem. And the way they say, yes, I would solve this problem is if that unit existed, I would sign up, right? I would sign up. And so I need to dial in some of the details that make it seem like it could be real. Because I think a lot of people be like, yeah, that sounds great. But like, I've heard that, you know what I mean? So what I will need help with is one, other people that I should talk to, like probably, as you're saying, and I should talk to Grimes, did he get out?
Grimes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I sent him a message a year ago and never heard anything back. So I don't know.
He might have done his time, but so what the issue is going to be for me is the distribution, right? Is like I don't know where to go find. I don't know where the like the Lance Corporals underground, like I know those back channels, and I know you have access to them. So when I have a survey, it'll come with a loom, which is a video. I'm saying like, hey, here I am. This is what I'm up to. Need you to fill this out, and then like would love to put you in a community together. I don't know if I need to stand up a Facebook group for like the retired Marines. I can't believe there isn't one, right? Where do we go to poll our people? The people particularly, like I want to talk to people that are in, but I'm more interested in talking to people that are out that might come back in because I believe that's a stronger. If I come to that major and I say, look, I got 150 guys, all of which I believe to be at or near water walker level that are ready to come in. Like, just let me run a unit. Just please, like, let me run a unit my way without the conform. And we will have beards. Sorry, we're gonna have beards. We'll conform to sort of like get me the minimum requirements of compliance. And like, if I've got 150 Marines of top tier level that I can demonstrate, right? They don't.
Are we
they
going
can't
to?
say no.
Yeah, are we going to the Middle East or somewhere where beards are not only socially acceptable, but they're part of the culture and part of the respect? Then yeah, like we should fucking have beards. Like, get the fuck over it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna redact.
20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we still fucking lose our shit over guys with beards. Like,
Yeah, well, and I use that, and we don't have to we'll keep ourselves clean when we're here or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to die on that hill, but there's a lot of, I think
no, yeah, exactly.
what I'm trying to demonstrate is like, we're not going to follow rules that if it doesn't enhance lethality, like I'm going to fight it, right? I'm not like, we need to, I mean, really the slogan of the fucking unit would be anti-safe. Like, we're not going to be safe and protect, like I'm going to lose rifles. Like I hope not to. But like
Yeah, like we're not gonna try to lose rifles. We're gonna do everything we can to not lose rifles. But at the end of the day, like, fuck it, shit happens.
we're not gonna lose rifles. But I'm gonna be okay if I lose a rifle. I'm not losing my unit. I'm not losing my fucking rank. None of that shit, right? It's like, because otherwise I'll keep the rifles in the goddamn armory, and we want, like, anyway. So
That's what happens.
so yeah, I think what I told the last three that I spoke with is like, I also have a job opportunity, and I'm building a hiring company. I want to start with veterans. Well, veterans, previously incarcerated, and mothers. Like, I think it should be easier for them to find jobs. So like, one of kind of the lost leaders to this is if we were to assemble a Facebook group for like, you know, crayon eaters that need work, right? I would love to help them find work. And then once we have what I'm going to call that the notional room, right? If there's, I mean, I don't see any reason why I don't have 100,000 vets in one room, and we'll put on some functions, right? Like, that community would be a cool community. So I'm not saying, hey, go build that. I'm saying, if we don't build that, I need at least 1,000 surveys filled out. I really want 10,000. Like, I want to like, if I come before this major, I'm not wasting his time. It's like, here you go, man. Notionally, I've talked to 10, or literally I've talked to 10 veterans and guys that are active. And then notionally, I've talked to 10,000. And like, you can't deny these statistics. And here, you can't deny, this is how I solve it. You don't have to, like, it's an easy decision for you here, right? That's what I'm. So I don't know how long this takes, Burkell. I think I got the other three a little too excited. Like, I always think I can move faster than I can move. Like, this could be a 5-year project. I don't intend for it to be. It's like, once I get the survey, and I think I'm survey ready in a month, maybe 2. I want like 2 or 3 more of these combos. And I want to make sure I'm asking the right questions. Like, you saw what we just did there. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to demonstrate the 1 in 20. What is that? Like, what is the perception of that? Because whether it's objectively true or not, really fucking doesn't matter. When you ask a Marine how many of the water walkers stayed in or are in and regret it, like, to me, that's all the data you need. That is the perception. You know what I mean? Like, but I got to figure out how to ask that. You saw how we did that, like in a survey form where it's like, okay, I need the major and then the general and then the commandant or whoever the hell it is to say, okay, like, he's on to something, right? This is all that to say. What my ask of you is, if you know of people I should talk to, text me their names and their information. I think I have a video of what I'm doing that you can send, and then be mindful, because I told, like, the last 3 I got all excited about it. Like, you're gonna have a hard time. I said, no, bitch. Like, because our thing was all like decentralized command, right? And they're like, you're gonna have a hard time. And I looked at them. I said, no. i.e., you are gonna have a hard time because I'll fucking go fight with higher. Like at the end of the day, I will put the survey together. I am ready to go fucking get crucified at the stake, talking shit about the existing leadership. I'm down for that. But I need you guys to find me those people that will say yes to the cowboy unit or whatever it is we decide to do. So like, be mindful of that. That's what I will need. I'll need that support because once I have that, it's overwhelming, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
you know. So that would be that's if you're down to party with me, that is what I'm gonna need.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how to find them.
Yeah. And then I've got some guys like with the like if you put together the survey, I've got some guys that I could definitely I would like off the top of my head definitely that I would give it to. Would you be interested in talking to guys who are still in or guys who have recently gotten out?
Yeah, for sure. My only concern is like for you is so what I've been I can't summarize this conversation in a presentation, right? But what I can do is I have it recorded and I can give it, right? It's like It's like here's the data, here's the summary of the data, and then it's like I just don't want to commit anybody to career suicide over it because I'm not like I'm assuming you're okay with it. So I do want to talk to them. I would ask them. What's up?
I don't have a problem with it at all.
Okay, and I think
like, I don't feel like I've said anything that's gonna like. I don't feel like I've said anything that like anybody who's being honest with themselves doesn't already recognize as a problem.
So what's crazy in this new command climate is I have two buddies, and one unrelated to this project. One was like he works for the government contractor. I was like, hey, would you come out? Because he could tell my story with me better than I can have it. It's like, dude, I can't. I got to protect my family. I'm like, holy fuck. And then another that was like, you know, this administration is blah blah blah. I can't talk about it on the phone. I'll write you a letter. So everybody's got differing levels of comfortability with risk. So that's the more in and out is good. But for me, the strength, so this is the problem, right? So if I pulled all active duty people and that are still in and told them about this, they're going to take their active and everybody's going to get, you know what I'm saying? So like what I really want to deliver the most value with is pulling people that are unassociated, and want to get back involved. That's where the strength is because I'm pulling water walkers not away from your units currently, but from out, right? But I do want to talk to them, yes, for sure. I think they can demonstrate the issues for sure.